Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Insights Lounge. This is Kanika. I'm the founder and CEO of the market research company Mindcog, and we're a premium business research company. We work with the select decision makers to help them with the critical business problems. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Kanwarpreet Singh. Hi, Kanwar.
Hi,
He
Kanika.
is a business leader in the field of strategy, operations, supply chain. And he's a seasoned professional in the field of sustainability and textiles, and which is the core theme of today's discussion. He has a large career spanning over 2 decades and previously worked with some very interesting brands such as H&M and currently working with IKEA in Netherlands.
Yes.
Hi, Kanwar. Thank you for obliging us.
Hi, Kanika. No, thank you very much for having me over on this talk. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. So let's start with your career journey. Kanwar, you have a very interesting career spanning a very long period of time. Tell me how it started and how have you reached where you have, which is a very interesting intersection, especially given where the world is right now.
Yes, how I started my journey, there was nothing that had any connection with textiles or so, but and as probably at my age and at that time, a lot of youngsters were clueless of what they had to do. So I just followed the flow. We had my cousins they were in the textiles business. So I just followed them. And someday a wise man said that till you find your passion, don't stop yourself, continue your journey, and you will find it someday. So that's how I got into textiles. I did a qualification from Pearl Academy, and then I joined Pearl Global, and from there on the journey started into textiles.
Very
And it's
interesting.
only about and it's only about I would say last 10 years that I found my passion towards sustainability, and I decided to switch from being into the business side to sustainability side. Now, as the world is moving, it all is actually together. It's no longer separate business or sustainability. It is all together now.
Hmm, hmm. So you touched upon something very interesting, and which is the core theme, which is sustainability. Tell me, how was sustainability perceived, say, 10 years ago, and how is it perceived today?
10 years ago, it was still the awareness was good level. But if I say compared to when I started my journey or started my career, at that time, the awareness was very less or negligible.
Hmm,
It was seen as something that what it is all about. There was lack of awareness amongst the businesses, amongst the government, amongst the people, everyone.
hmm,
And it was something seen outside of business. So I
hmm,
would say
hmm,
since the year 2000, that's what
hmm,
I can
hmm,
recall, the journey started of businesses or brands, let's say, to become more conscious, more sustainable, and
hmm,
starting their journey. So that's when I
hmm,
saw that the changes started to happen. Then, of course, in the
hmm,
last 10 years, it has
hmm,
picked up quite a bit.
hmm, hmm,
It is now a part of most reputable businesses. Yeah.
hmm,
And today it is no longer, I said, it's a part of daily business. It's how people or how responsible companies do business today. They
hmm,
don't
hmm,
see it separately.
hmm,
And there's a lot more awareness with the people, with the governments, with the industries. And that's where it is today. And what I can only say is that, yes, uh, even though there is a good level of awareness, but still a lot has to be done in just creating that awareness at the people level, if I may say so.
hmm, hmm. Talking about awareness, Kanwar, you have worked in Europe and in Southeast regions of the world. What is different actually in the perspective in these regions? And is there a major gap that you still observe, or what's your recommendation?
If I start from the governments, so
Hmm,
what I see, having worked in now different regions, I see the political will, starting with
hmm,
that,
hmm,
and also that that how the political leaders have allowed for this topic to take shape. So that it
hmm,
starts with that. And then, of course, it trickles down to the industries and the people, all of that. When I say political leadership, then of course, what I see is that some countries which are very heavily dependent on exports, and if they're they tend to move faster than other markets because their buyers are mostly placed in the Western markets, and then of course they put a lot of demands.
Mm,
So starting with the political leadership, then of course it trickles down to the whole legal landscape, the implementation of it, uh, and the government's providing financial assistance to help companies navigate through this, and also creating infrastructure for it.
mm,
So those are the differences which I've seen between the countries who are ahead versus the countries who are still on their journey. Means the countries who are ahead have clearly a political will, a legal landscape
mm,
to support it, a good infrastructure, good financial assistance, and most importantly, good education and awareness on sustainability.
mm, mm. Do you also find that brands struggle with maintaining a balance between, say, quality and sustainability? And because at the same time trying to balance their profitability while still being sustainable? Or, I mean, what's the inclination for major brands, and what's the resistance also at the same time?
It's how the fashion has been perceived since the very
Mm,
beginning, and how brands positioned themselves in the beginning.
mm,
And if I were to say, we know of fast fashion and we know of the challenges with fast fashion,
mm,
creating a lot of waste and all of that. But if I
mm,
talk about Patagonia, I mean, they decided to do business in a very different way,
mm,
right? Of course, they have some challenges also, but I mean, purely from a business model point of view, yeah, they included a repair service from the very beginning. Always, lifetime guarantee in their business, in their products. That is something which they started with their thought process. While
mm,
fast
mm,
fashion companies probably didn't start with that.
mm,
Now everybody's so every it was a race to the bottom when it comes to
mm.
price ladder. Now,
Yeah.
of course, it is people are finding it challenging for sure, but at the same time, I said there is no other way around it
Mm,
from a business point of view because raw materials are getting expensive, labor cost is not going down. So
mm,
all these challenges are there. So, but having said that, companies who are sticking to or still working with sustainability,
yes.
I can name H&M for that. Even though being a
Mm,
fast fashion company, they are serious about it,
mm,
and they are. Yeah, they will not do 100 things, but but whatever they do, they will. I'm very sure that they will do it with full, backing behind it. So yeah, if that
and
makes sense. I mean, yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
you
please.
mentioned rightly. So there are some brands which are doing it proactively now, but I think until a few
Yep.
years ago, a lot of them were just, I mean, their hand was pushed by the regulations which were already there or are, still in the pipeline and will take shape. So they have now they're forced by the regulations to do this. I mean, there are some recent brands in India where I've seen come up. Virgio is one case in point,
Mm,
who actually on the forefront when the brand itself launched, said that we are recycling sustainability. In fact, I don't know if you've noticed, but for every garment that they're posting, like the picture of on their website, on their app, it says this is the carbon footprint, this much percentage is recycled. I think they're capitalizing on it basically. So the aware
yes,
consumer, so to speak, and I was actually very intrigued by it personally, and I did shop from them. So I was like, oh, clearly it is working.
I have
Bec-
not heard about this brand. What does it mean? Can you please
It's called
repeat?
Virgio.
Virgio. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Yes.
And yeah, and then at the same time, there are brands like Shein, which are so there are different perspectives I feel in the market. How
Mm-hmm.
do you see the balance of high cost pressures in textile from a long-term point of view and sustainable practices? Is cost also a criteria?
I think it starts with saving. If I were to say, low cost and high impact,
Mm,
it starts with saving and it starts with following legal laws, whatever is in the country.
mm,
And as a business, one has to comply with the legal laws. So there is no way around it. So that cost should be built in the business, built in the products automatically, right? If
mm,
somebody's not doing it, then definitely they will have a cost challenge. That is the first thing. Second thing is When you talk about sustainability, it is simply about taking good care of people, and saving the resources, whether it is
Mm,
the textiles, whether it's the energy, whether it's water, and wasting less. That is the savings to start with. Then you go into, okay, if you want to say, okay, how, then the discussion comes into, okay, if I were to invest in a solar panels, then
mm,
what is my return on investment and all that. But
mm,
technology is improving fast today, right? So the return on investment is getting, the period for that is getting shorter. So I think, and I believe truly, that the companies who are investing in it, they will eventually gain from it because
mm,
they will be the leader in it, because consumer awareness is growing for
mm,
sure, and the consumers are, they're wanting products which are made sustainably. So companies will have to invest, and those who are able to invest,
mm,
they'll be able to communicate as well.
mm. I agree. I
And
agree.
if they don't communicate, or if they will communicate, then consumers will see them and then go to them, instead of the
Yeah.
ones who will not invest and they will not be able to communicate simply.
Mm.
So there are long-term benefits, absolutely, from business point of view.
I mean, you've seen the complexities firsthand. If you have to, recommend somebody, what does it take to build like a truly circular textile business? If you can give any inputs for somebody who's considering it, I'm talking about smaller brands at this point.
Yeah, and as we speak, I am actually mentoring a startup brand. It's called
Mm,
Vapsi, www.vapsi.com. Vapsi with a V,
mm,
AAPSI.com. So
okay.
yeah, and they are developing, and I think they will challenge a lot of things, a lot of norms in the industry. And they're not a premium brand, but they're not a very low price brand as well.
Mm,
But they've started the business to business right now. They will start the
mm,
business to customer very soon.
mm,
But yeah, they will challenge a lot of things, and you will see the norms of the industry, general norms of the industry. So in terms of, but it will all benefit the consumer.
mm, mm,
So the whole thought process with Vapsi is that it's, you sell the product not to sell, not to for the sake of selling the product,
mm,
to sell the product which actually benefits the consumer even
mm,
after its end
mm,
of life. So
mm,
that is the
mm,
thought process with Vapsi. So truly circular business, essentially, to respond to, if I
mm,
say that,
mm,
uh,
mm,
is designed for circularity. Of course, that's a starting point.
mm,
Then promoting responsible consumption,
mm,
and also having local or regional production as well as selling.
mm,
So that is what I believe in. And of course, the materials they use, if they're designing for circularity, and if they have slowly increase the percentage of recycled materials in their products. But it'll all come together, designing for circularity, take back programs, and as I said, having products with recycled content in it, etc., and also local producing and selling.
If you were to recommend a brand on, who wants to start reducing their carbon footprint, what could be some of like the low cost yet high impact changes that you would recommend?
First, look at two things: create the data
Mm,
where they're using the resources, whether it is electricity, water, their raw materials, how much waste are they producing?
mm,
Yeah, just to create the data first. I think that is a starting point, which many companies miss today, even today.
mm,
And second, low cost thing would be to simply reduce the wastage.
okay.
I think these are the two starting points which we
Mm,
recommend to everybody. After
mm,
that, you can make your, once you have the data, once you have done savings from reducing waste, then
mm,
then you can see, okay, where do I need to then upgrade, and then that will be a simpler business
mm.
case discussion.
Let's talk about something very specific. Now, most of the polyester is made from PET bottles. And despite the ongoing technological advancement, I mean, I still think that commercialization fails, just at the pilot stage itself. What are your thoughts on this challenge?
PET bottle recycling
Yeah.
is actually can never be profitable for textile. That's my opinion. Some
Okay.
people might think otherwise, but
Hmm.
there's a reason for it, and
Hmm.
the reason is that the governments,
Hmm.
when we talk of EPR laws, so a PET bottle company, or let's say the beverage companies, they are now required to take back what they're selling in the market. And PET bottle is a food grade product,
Hmm.
right? Why would we want to use it in a textile product? So a beverage company will definitely pay a higher price for PET bottle for the waste materials as compared to a textile company.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
so that is where, if I talk from a PET bottle point of view, right? That is when the business case, or let's say there was a huge upsurge of PET bottle into textiles, but then beverage companies wanted more than the textile companies, so they will pay a higher price. So for textile companies, it is not a business case anymore. And if you talk about any other material,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I have seen a lot of people developing
Hmm.
leather from mushrooms
Yeah.
and from algae. But the thing is, and every material has a use case. There is no material which does not have a
Hmm.
use case.
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
question is that where the scalability fails is that whether somebody is trying to fill a gap or
Hmm.
whether somebody is trying to replace it. So if you're filling a gap, okay, maybe makes sense. If you're
Hmm.
replacing it, then you see if you're replacing your product with something else which
Hmm.
is already
Hmm.
in abundance, it's going
Hmm.
to be a hard task.
So let's take the example of, upcycling or recycling post-consumer textiles only. We'll park the PET bottle example aside. Do you think that, I mean, give me an example, like maybe from your recent experiences, where a brand or a company is doing it very profitably, and yeah, you think that it can definitely scale, and if you would like to share something.
If I talk from a brand's point of view, right now, very limited. If I say recycling, a lot of brands are collecting their products back. Yeah.
Hmm.
But a lot of it actually is being burnt as well. So simply because the technology is not available yet fully.
Hmm.
The reason why I say so, because 60% of the textiles in the market are basically mixed materials. When I say
Yeah.
polyester blends, cotton blends, etc. Now,
Hmm.
recycling technologies for both cotton and polyester is different. So it is only downcycled. So it doesn't go back into the apparel. So if you have only 100% cotton or a polyester, it can go back into the apparel. But otherwise, as I said, 60-70% is mixed blends.
Hmm.
It has difficulty. So to successfully post-consumer textiles
Hmm.
back into a garment, I have seen some examples, but not. It's not mass scale right now,
Hmm.
and I say purely because of technological challenges,
Hmm.
and also that how the textiles have been designed.
Hmm. Do you see that technological advancement is lacking in this field, that it can improve to actually maybe make the process more efficient or more profitable? You just said that that's what is stopping it from being profitable.
There are a few companies who are investing in it, but still the
Hmm.
cost is very high. There are companies like now CIRC, CIRC. So they are investing in. They have somehow have developed a technology to separate cotton and polyester fibers.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then maybe you've heard of the latest announcement from H&M. They've invested in a company called Sire. So they are
Hmm.
opening up textile recycling plants, but they are only focusing on polyester. So
Hmm.
it's happening. It will take a while. Until then, it's happening, but slow still.
How much pressure is coming from consumers versus, say, a regulatory body or maybe there are lobbyists who want to drive or push companies towards adopting sustainable practices?
Consumers definitely. I think there's a insights, market insights were done. So about 65%, 70% consumers do recognize sustainability, do want the products which are made sustainably, for sure. So there is a push coming from consumers, for sure. Then, of course, if I talk about regulations, big regulations are coming from Europe. And then now, of course, I feel India has also picked up quite a bit in terms of regulations. So, but if I talk businesses, it is there, but still a lot needs to be done from businesses, the leadership, if I might say so.
And how have you seen this variation across geographies? Where do you see more awareness across the world?
Definitely in Europe. It is much more aware and have probably the strongest legislations around.
Mm,
And people are aware as well. Infrastructure is there, and financial assistance is there. So, of course, Europe is definitely much ahead.
mm,
I also must say this. I think I should make a distinction for it. When it comes to consumerism,
mm,
I think Asia is very good
mm,
because we are very frugal that way.
mm.
So Asian markets, Asian countries are, I think we are ahead because we think more about saving and
Yeah.
not using so much resources, etc. But
Mm,
that's not the case in Europe. So I mean, I'm being very candid here. Uh, but they have a huge, good infrastructure, good thought, good awareness, all of that. But the consumption is just way too much
mm,
of resources, in the
mm,
western
mm,
side of the hemisphere.
mm. So do you think that given that, you just mentioned that we are probably more price sensitive and we more have Indians largely probably have a lot of saving mindset, you think we can actually play a larger role in sustainability, in adopting sustainable practices in some way, and then maybe become a leader eventually? I know from a regulations point of view, we are very far behind, especially, I mean, the government, at least I personally don't know about anything happening so by the government in government, but do you think the movement can happen?
I believe, actually, on the contrary, I think when it comes to circularity, Indians are champions in that, I feel. We use things a lot more before we actually decide to throw away. So, I mean, yes, definitely India, as I said, India is actually quite good at circularity as compared to the others, if I may say
Mm,
so,
mm,
or the mindset. But of course, it's just the enabling and practicing. In our grandfathers or grandparents and all that, they used to
yeah.
practice many good things, yeah, sustainable practices, which of course with the current generation is going less, but it is there. It just has to we have to just bring it back into the modern day context, those practices. But I think that from as Indians, we are definitely have a good mindset of that, and we can actually pick up quite fast.
Mm. And looking back at your personal journey, like what have been your some very interesting or biggest learnings, if I have to ask, if someone has to balance profitability, sustainability, and impact?
My learning is that if I talk from a business point of view, or in
Mm,
generally if I talk about sustainability or circularity in general, I think we have been thinking a bit in silos that okay, government is going to do something and businesses are going to do something. As consumers, we don't have to do anything.
mm,
So I think we have been living in silos somewhat,
mm,
but I think it is not the case going forward. Like the biggest change, which is needed to have profitability, impact, and sustainability all together, is that all actors are equally
mm,
important.
mm,
And for that, consumers have to pitch in for sustainability to be affordable. At a, with a person earning, 50 rupees a day for, I mean, that's not the case anymore, I guess, but let's say the person earning a minimum wage
Mm.
It has to be profit. It has to make sense to that person as well. So, but we all have to come together. And I think in that, a lot of awareness is still needed. A lot of education is needed. I, as a consumer, cannot separate myself. Cannot do my duty uh,
Yeah.
in being sustainable, living sustainably first of all, and having responsible consumption practices. So it starts with me, and then I believe it will become a good balance. Right now, the balance is not there for sure.
Mm. And finally, last question. How do you predict the future of textiles in terms of sustainability?
I think I think that companies who manage their um, ambitions with the or they are out to do responsible selling and encouraging
Mm.
consumers to responsibly consume so that they can balance their own production and their location of their sourcing. If I would say more local, more regional, and then balancing the production with a genuine demand, not that's somebody's in my face, 10 companies are in my face that please buy, 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 so uh, I think those times will not be there. I don't think so. People will get more conscious. So companies who are able to are out there to sell, to fill a gap, will and manage local and regional sourcing, circular economy. I think they will be successful. Other companies will
Great.
find it challenging. I think so. And so future is there for sure,
Mm. Mm.
but
Sustainability
maybe
is a
different.
must.
It is a must. It is no choice anymore. It's not a
Yeah. Yeah.
choice
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
think
And
about.
and those who adopt sustainable practices proactively are going to be more successful. I think that's the key takeaway
Absolutely.
that we want to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes for governments, companies, and individuals as well.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And we all need to come together to contribute to this, not just rely on the governments or the big corporations. Completely agree. And I think that's a great message for everyone, whoever is listening in, even at a personal level. Thank you so much, Kanwar. Really appreciate your insights and the time that you've taken out today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kanika. Thank you for having me over. And it was a it was great talking to you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Same here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.